Okay, it's really happening. Yes, it's for real. Who knew? Who knew? Episode 3 of the Oz Couple. Now, you all don't get to have the enjoyment of me watching Allison jam out defeating the Ducks music in the green room because I can see her, but you cannot. But we can fix that too. Let me get rid of this.
That's actually a little creepy.
Ding.
Because I can't see you, so it's like you're just watching me.
That's true. I'm just watching you jam out to the Ducks. Yeah.
Love it.
Allison.
Tom.
It's episode 3.
It's episode 3.
How did we?
Why?
How did we know? How did we get through 1? How did we make 1 happen?
I don't know.
Much less now we're on episode 3.
I do not know.
Explain it to me. Go ahead. I'll wait.
I think that I don't want to say they're crazy, but
they could
maybe a little bit.
They could be.
Maybe a little bit. Hi, Judy.
Already here. She's ready for episode 3.
I love
whatever
Judy
this goofy thing is going to be.
The most extraordinary Wizard of Oz collection I have seen in like a personal thing, not outside of a museum. It's insane, and I won't lie, I'm a little bit jealous.
Well, I know that she always partakes
a lot jealous.
The Oztravaganza silent auction. She's always partaking of that every year. I know that she's got a rocking collection of Legend of Oz Wicked West comic books. I know she's got all that good stuff. So I have no doubt. Plus, she runs that little coloring contest that goes on down in town. Part of the Oztravaganza show, guys. There's a coloring contest every year. I keep thinking about this, and maybe this will be the year that I figure out how to set it up for next year, because next year is our Oz's 15-year anniversary. Is maybe getting a different level of the coloring contest for more like the adult side, if that's a thing. I don't say like adult, but like older people with some art from our comics. That that would be color. Cool. I mean, kids can color them too, of course. But from when we do the awards with Judy, it's generally the kids are getting the awards. Which
because it's 11 and under.
Right. So I'm just wondering if there's a way to maybe let the teenagers get involved, and so on and so on and so on. So maybe I'll go poke Judy in the shoulder a couple of times.
That would be cool. However, you are just making more work for all of our wonderful volunteers.
Correct.
just saying.
Correct.
Somebody's got to judge them.
You're not wrong. I can judge them. I can help judge. I can help judge stuff. Yeah.
You heard it here. Tom is stepping in. He's taking on extra work.
I can for sure be the judge and figure out some kind of help with prizes and so on. If we're gonna if we're gonna have it be part of our 15-year celebration, I'm happy to dive in and be a part of it. Yeah.
Judy says you're hired.
That's it. It's easy. See, it's easy. This is easy. Allison.
So I tried to be a little bit like you today, and I don't know if you'll be able. So with the background thing that I've got going on, you can't see it, but there's actually a crown.
There's a crown. It's being green screened out. Yes.
I have my Glinda crown on my headphones.
Oh yes.
Which really works out very well because I was kind of embarrassed by it. So now I just have.
Now you're just pink. There were
Yes.
there. So I just came back from Motor City Comic-Con this weekend.
Yeah.
And there were a handful of Oz cosplays there.
Nice.
There were two specifically that I saw. There were two Glindas, both based off of the Ariana Grande Glinda.
Sure.
One was very Glinda, long dress, the whole 9 yards, like do it Glinda from the movie, right? The other was shorter dress, higher heels, extremely. I will give her this. She had the full ponytail flip happening. It was going all over.
Okay.
And they both had the officially cool
licensed wand. Okay. The officially licensed Glinda, like the one that they're putting out as a costume, it is shorter.
Well, I
think it's only I think it's above the knee.
Oh, this was very much above the knee.
Oh,
very much above the knee. Very much sort of petticoat frilly. That style of Glinda. I don't think this was the official thing.
So above the knee by a couple of inches, or above the knee just covering the rear end?
No, it wasn't that short. It wasn't that short, but it wasn't just above the knee either. It was somewhere in between.
Okay.
Somewhere.
All right.
Yeah. It was, maybe it was the thing and still slightly modified. I don't know. But I was definitely that's sort of like Hollywood Boulevard Glinda, right? Sure. Versus, sort of Glinda. And
New York City Glinda.
That's
right. Where, all the costumed characters.
Yeah.
Hi, Colleen.
And Lindsay's hair,
fake Elmo and stuff like that.
But then we did have a group of classic Oz folks come through.
Nice.
Old school, straight out of the movie, Tin Man, Scarecrow, Lion, and Dorothy wandering through. Which kind of surprised me because I didn't expect to see that. I did expect Wicked. I did see there was a witch as well. Actually, the witch was part of the group. So the witch was part of that big group. But I did see one Wicked witch along with one of the Glindas. So they were palling around.
Elfie.
An Elfie, yes. Yeah. Palling around with Glinda. So so that was cool to see. I honestly kind of expected more Oz, or I should say Wicked cosplays, because I was at C2E2, which is a gigantic sea of people.
Enormous.
And I do remember seeing a little bit, but really nothing that stood out. So I don't know. I was expecting more Oz, Wicked, Elfie, Glinda, but
I think it's been cool though. It's, I don't want to say a resurgence, but you're definitely seeing it more in conventions and things.
Certainly,
which is neat.
Certainly, yes. And that's what
I would go. I would go a long time before seeing a Dorothy at a convention.
Yeah.
But yay, bring it back, folks.
That's right. Let's shake up the standards a little bit, please. Yeah. Enough with. Well, I will say this. I will say thank you to the community as a large, as a large, because I have noticed a distinct and
you said
very
because
I've noticed a distinct, very real lack of Harley Quinn and Deadpool.
Thank goodness! Thank goodness!
Supreme lack of that stuff, which I appreciate myself.
I will never understand the Harley Quinn Joker obsession, but that's just me.
Yeah. Nope. So yeah,
unhealthy relationship, folks.
So Motor City was my weekend out there with CB Zane, chilling, doing the con thing. It was really good. It was a really good con.
How is CB?
He's very good. Good. Yep. He got a bunch of commissions done. I know he did an Elvira. I know he did a White Queen. I think he might have done a couple others, but the interesting thing again about this con, that hasn't really happened in a while is people were all in on books this year. Like,
good.
Often you'll get somebody that's like, oh, there's like 5 volumes of Oz. Well, I'll get volume 1 and, wait and get some later. And I'm like, yeah, that's fine. Whatever you want to do. And that we still had that, but we had a much bigger assortment of people that are just like, oh, give me all of it. I want all of it right now. Give it to me. And I was like, yeah. And that just changes everything for us.
Because inevitably you will want the other ones. So you might as well just have them on hand.
That's what I try and explain too, is, you can buy these from us on our website anytime you want, but it's going to be full price. It's going to be shipping. It's going to be, you're going to be paying a lot more than what I'm trying to give you here at this little event. But they're still, well, I'll get number 1. I'm like, okay,
yeah,
do your thing.
Plus it's a graphic novel. It's not like a novel. So it's not going to take you nearly as much time as just reading a ton of text.
Yeah.
So have them ready
to go. And by the time you get through with number 1, you're going to like it. So,
yes.
And then you're going to be like, oh, dang.
I might be slightly biased, but
it's all right.
Buy the books.
That's all right.
Ooh, I keep getting stuff.
Incidentally, folks, we need 7 individual comments today to come back for episode 4.
Did the people who already just like said hello count, or do we need like
all of these count? All of these count.
Real comment.
We have Judy, we have Colleen, we have Lindsay.
And Lindsay. Yeah.
So we have 3. So we still need 4 more different people to chime in today. Otherwise, there is no episode 4.
Oh my goodness.
Folks. We want you to be involved in the show. If you have questions, if you have comments, please just shout them out to us.
Please ask questions.
We are happy to show off.
We had some good ones last week.
Yes, we did. We're happy to attempt to show off our brains.
Brand new.
See how much of a know-it-all we are.
Yeah, actually, we had some really good questions at the museum last week too.
Oh yeah, okay.
I always love when somebody asks me something and I do not know the answer to it, because that just allows me to go into research mode, and that is super fun for me.
Research mode, like then and there, or like later on?
Oh, absolutely, then and there.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes. I'm like, gotta figure this out right now.
And did you find the answers?
Ask Mark Sample. He laughs at me a lot because he will ask me questions and I will sometimes go, I'm not really sure. And then I will start looking. And he's like, I didn't mean for you to look right now. And I said, oh no, it's going to bother me until I know the answer. So this is what we're doing right now.
That's fair. Yeah. And you went to where were you? You were at a library somewhere, a school. You went to a school.
I went to one of our local elementary schools. Mark Sample and Colleen Zimmer and I went, and we did this last year too, but I don't know. And maybe it wasn't really different, but it felt a little bit different. I actually ended up dressing as Dorothy this time. And they were so sweet and so cute. I read the story to all of the age groups. We had pre-K through 3rd grade this year. The 4th graders were on a field trip. And of course they got back like right as we were finishing up. I'm like, we could do one more. It's fine. But yeah, they seemed to really enjoy it. A lot of them had really good questions as well. One of I think it was 1st graders. I told them, instead of just taking a bunch of time at the end, I was like, okay, we'll do a time for questions. And so I would get like 4 or 5. But then I told them when they came up to look at all of the items that we had, I brought like 5 display items. When they came by the table, that they could ask me any questions there if they weren't able to have their question answered. And one little girl asked me, so what inspired him to write the book? And I'm like, that's a really good question. And so we talked about some of the different things that, he might have gotten some ideas from in his real life, but I love those because they're so open-ended. Yeah. And, you know, unless it's not like I can ask Bomb. So, yeah. It was fun.
Bring a Ouija board with you, and then you can ask him.
No, that's okay. I'm very easily scared. But the pre-K, they were adorable because I read a counting book with them too. So they were like screaming back at me. They were very involved. And we got thank you cards, which made me all emotional. Some thank you cards and some water bottles. I'm like, yeah, we need to do it more. Or at least multiple schools, I think.
Yeah, that's great.
Yeah, it was fun.
The inspiration question is always interesting. I get asked that a lot. Well, like, what's your inspiration for all this stuff? And I'm like, I don't know. I mean, I watch TV and I watch movies, and then I want to translate whatever that is into whatever it is that I'm trying to work on. So, I don't know. I don't know the answer for inspiration. It's even for me. Like, what is my inspiration? I don't know that I have the answer. Everything is everything that I've done is always sort of been sort of stream of consciousness. It's like, okay, I like this thing, superheroes, whatever. So let me do a thing with it. But there was no necessarily like spark of like bing, like let's go there. I mean, I don't, because I don't know even the story of how the Wicked West came around. I don't know if it's really inspiration. Maybe it is, but it was there was such a domino effect of things for me to get from the Wicked play and the Alphabet with her hat down to get from that to I'm going to write a Western version of this. Like, there's so many pieces in between that I don't know if it qualifies as inspiration so much as just like
absolutely.
It's just like absorption of your surroundings that, you know, became something.
You had an idea that gave you another idea that gave you another idea. It makes sense, at least in my mind.
Okay.
Where you can have an incredible amount of thoughts in 2 seconds. So I can see where the superheroes came from. I can see where the kaiju stuff came from. Some of your other things. Where did the Marie Antoinette come from?
Marie Antoinette was
you just really were craving cake.
Always. That's for sure. Always. Marie Antoinette was kind of similar to Scheherazade in that I had sort of a story that I wanted to tell, but I didn't know what sort of the hook was, right? So like with Scheherazade, we wanted to tell this big fantasy fairy tale genre mashup thing. We knew what we wanted there, but it was sort of like, okay, but what's the hook? Like, who is this person? Who is this character? And then it was like, oh, look, this is what we're doing. We're telling these stories, Scheherazade, because she's the storyteller. It became this natural thing. So with Marie Antoinette, I wanted to do some kind of a Headless Horseman story, not a Headless Horseman per se, but just sort of a Headless Horseman-ish thing. But I wanted to gender bend it somehow. And I didn't know what the answer was. And I had just been kind of floating around with that for a long time. And then Ryan Kincaid one time posted on his Facebook page, he just made a random quote because he's an artist that I work with, and he said, hey, what would be cool, something to the effect of like, what would be cool public domain characters that we could gender bend into things, blah blah blah. And I started looking at the list of stuff that people were talking to, and one of them was the Headless Horseman. And I immediately wrote Ryan back, and I was like, shut that thread down. Don't let people see this, because this is I've already have this happening
because I'm working on it.
Yeah, because I'm already working on this, and at that point I had figured out, because I was like, well, who is like a famous person that got their head cut off? And I immediately just like went right to her. I was like, oh my God, of course, Marie Antoinette. And so I was like, hey, Ryan, shut that thread down and let's talk. And then he actually designed her initially. He did like an art print design with her in the head and swinging the guillotine around. And we took that to cons and just let people see it, kind of like we do with Princesses versus Zombies. And people were like, yo, that's really cool. And then I was like, okay, so they like it, Ryan, do you want to do the book? And I wrote it and he did the interiors, and Antoinette was born.
I love it.
So yeah.
It's on my list of cosplays. You've worked with a ton of different artists.
What's up, Anthony?
Hi, Anthony. His favorite people.
So
honored. So you've worked with a ton of artists. What was the most kind of unexpected artist during the Legend of Oz time that you've been working on it?
For Oz, probably. The first one wasn't me. The first one was Jesse James, who wanted to do a store exclusive, and he went and got Joe Linsner, who is the guy who created Dawn, Cry for Dawn. Okay. So that was him. So that was still a surprise, because I was like, yo, how did you get that? But then later, the one that I never would have in my wildest imaginations dreamed we could ever get was J. Scott Campbell.
Oh my gosh, yes.
Yeah. And even that was not me. That was still sort of through somebody else.
I freaking love him.
Yeah, but the fact that we got J. Scott Campbell to do an Oz cover, and then of course he came back later and did Scheherazade covers too. But the fact that he did that Oz cover is still like, what? That's crazy to me. It's crazy to me. So yeah, those would be sort of the really the big two. But then there's the third. The third is me. And the third is a guy that I have always loved throughout the years. He's another guy that goes back into the 80s and the 90s of Batgirl art for Marvel, for Image Comics and so on. And I never would have dreamed that I would even meet him, talk to him, because he's never at cons. But I happened to find him on Facebook, and he was just posting stuff. And I saw that he hadn't done anything for a long time, and he was just kind of posting some new things. I think he had done a commission for somebody. And I was like, oh, he's like doing stuff. Like, And so I just messaged him on Facebook. Like, I didn't know him. He didn't know me. I was just like, here's who I am. Here's what I do. Are you doing stuff again? Or are you just kind of doing commissions for fun? And he was like, Noel, I haven't done anything real for a long time. And,
hi, Mom. Okay. Wait, I have to make you pause, because she's just downstairs.
She's off camera.
She's messaging us from the next room. I love that. Okay, sorry, keep going.
Yeah. And so I said, well, so he said, I haven't been doing anything for a long time. I've kind of been thinking about it, but I don't really have anything going on. And I said, I have something you can do. And I told him about Legend of Oz. I showed him the Dorothy Gales and the stuff that we've done. And he was like, that's amazing. I would love to do this. And we set him up, and that was Joe Chiodo. He's one of the classic. He was an artist back in the day. He was a colorist for Top Cow Comics and Image Comics and so on. He's a legend, at least in my mind. So we got Joe Chiodo. He did the cover. He did the painted cover, painting. That's what he does. He paints.
Wow.
So he did the cover, and then I had one more request. I was like, so, do you sell your original paintings at all? And he was like, yeah, I do, but there's sort of a problem. And I said, oh, what like it's a $10,000? He's like, no. You know who Glenn Danzig is? The singer?
I personally?
Yeah. Not do you know him, but do you know who he is? Glenn Danzig. He's a singer, hard rock, that kind of stuff. apparently Glenn Danzig is the biggest collector of Joe Chiodo art in the world, and whatever Joe does, he gets those paintings.
That's awesome.
Yeah, and so Joe Chiodo was like, I'm gonna slip this one by him if you want it, and you know, he doesn't have to know, since it wasn't like Marvel or DC. Joe was kind of like, it's probably okay, so you know, I'll sell it to you if you want it. And I was like, damn right I want it. So so I worked it out with him, and I have the painting. It's here in the house. And so that was just levels of nonsense to have cool. Joe Chiodo be part of Big Dog Ink. So yeah, Joe Linsner, J. Scott Campbell, Joe Chiodo. Those were sort of the miracle pieces that we have on the Legend of Oz.
I want J. Scott Campbell to draw a picture of me as one of his girls. I mean, they all have a very specific look to them, right? Sure. So that does not look like me, but his interpretation of me.
Mm-hmm. Well, he does. He can do facial caricature stuff. So he's done it before. Yeah. He can make things look like people.
The last San Diego Comic-Con that I went to, I stood in line to get, I ended up getting one of his like Beauty and the Beast pins. I just love his artwork. It's gorgeous.
Oh, yeah. He's done fantasy stuff forever. He does his Marvel and you know, Image Comics and stuff. But
I do love the famous Mary Jane. He's got a Mary Jane.
What's the famous Mary Jane?
I mean, I don't know. I guess there's probably more than one cover that he did, but there's one of her kind of like knelt on a couch, which I just think is great.
Oh yeah, where Spider-Man's swinging away and she's got her hot chocolate, like, oh, I hope he doesn't die. You know, yeah. I realized that we have this new technology where I can show you things, guys.
Yeah.
I was a little slow on the uptake. There's the Joe Chiodo cover.
I do love that one.
Gorgeous. Yeah.
I mean, you have a lot of covers that I love.
Well, I would hope
that's actually one of the things that I enjoy about the book is that there are so many variant covers, and stylistically they're very different.
Sure.
I'm blanking right now. What is the name of the girl that we met at C2E2 that you ended up using for like the chibi type covers? I think you did one thing with them.
The girl at C2E2. Well, the only person that does chibi covers is Bun Leung.
I remember Bun, but that's
not it. I don't know who the girl would be.
Because I remember it was the one that I've only gone to the one, but you're like, I need this. I need this style.
I need this style. I don't know.
Okay.
I'm trying to think of like.
It was very like anime.
And did we get her to do the cover?
I've stumped him. I've stumped him for the evening. I thought so, but maybe not. I'll have to look back through.
Yeah.
Because there's one that I thought it was.
There's definitely people that I have that I've met and I've liked their art, and it never worked out. I met somebody at C2E2 this year who is going to do something for us in October. She's amazing. I love her stuff. Met some guys at Dan Mendoza's show that are going to do some things for us. So I'm always looking for new people, like all the time. It's sort of the curse, right? Because you know, you love working with the people that you work with, but at the same time, you kind of always have to be on the lookout for like who's next and what's next and what else is there. So it's kind of a bummer that you can't just do like 100 covers every time and give everybody a job. But that's the art director's life, and that's sort of that's art life is, you kind of have to always keep evolving and finding new things. What was really funny is when I was going through stuff, it's not here, it's downstairs. When I was going through stuff just recently, I found a sample packet from a guy that had given me where it was, this guy had given me this stuff at least 5 or 6 years ago. Based on where I found it, I was like, oh no. But I took it out and I looked at it and I was like, what am I doing? This is really good.
You're like, this is good.
What did I do wrong? And so it had his business card on it stapled to it. And so I emailed him and I said, dude, I just found this stuff. Are you still doing like work and art? And he was like, yeah. Like he gave me a link to his sample pages, his website. And I was like, oh, thank God. Because and he does interiors too. That's like really the key is I need interior people. And he was like, yeah. Let's talk about doing work. So some dude that gave me a packet at some con 5 years ago is now going to get a job because I found his samples again. So that just goes to show you guys
talent out there.
Oh, ridiculous amount. Yeah.
We have a Jen Brumal original pencil artwork in the museum. Mm-hmm. And I love Jen, even though I've really only met her the one time. But
the one time? What was the one time?
It was at C2E2.
And that's right. She was still doing C2E2 at the time. That's right.
And she gave me a Dazzler print. And I was unbelievably happy. For those of you who don't know who Dazzler is, she is a lesser known Marvel character. Her name is Allison Blair. Allison Blair.
Mm-hmm,
Allison Blair. She's a singer. I mean, come on. We're basically the same person. Yes, that's the cover.
So that's the cover that's in the museum, guys. That was from our first year at Ozstravaganza. I brought that my very first year.
Oh man, that was the first year?
Yes.
Wow.
That was our Ozstravaganza exclusive in our first year at Oz. 2012.
That's insane.
Yeah. We had a total of 4 issues out at that point. Which is ridiculous. I can't even comprehend having 4 issues of that thing when we now have like 30. It's a wild time. It's a wild ride. But yeah, so that's the cover. That's the colored cover, obviously. And then if you look in the background, you see the trees, the haunted forest, like the eyes are kind of lit up. Jen said that she hid, and then we colored them, obviously, glowing red. But that's like the haunted forest. So there's like eyes in the trees. So I don't know that Kate, who colored that, I don't know that Kate got them all.
Judy's got everything.
Jen said that she had like a chart to like where they all are and how many there are.
All the hidden faces.
Yeah, all the hidden faces and eyes in the tree. Yeah. So yeah, and she donated that as a I don't know what you call it when you put it on loan for the museum, but it's been there now for since I don't know, probably a couple of years after that. So if that was 2012, it's been there probably 10 years at least. So yeah.
I have pieces on loan at the museum.
Mm-hmm.
One of which being the cover that I'm on of the sketchbook. Because how many? Only 20, 25 of those were made?
That's a good question. I don't remember.
It was 25, 20 or probably. 25.
Probably 25. Yeah. More than likely 25. Well, there were 2 of them though. There was because we did like a regular and it was like a foil. Weren't there 2 versions?
Oh, I thought there was just the foil.
Maybe that was it. I thought there were both.
Pretty sure it's just foil.
Going back into the day
you were now. So excited that it looked like a rainbow if you moved it.
Yes. Yeah. You don't always get that effect sometimes when you have all of that color going on. Sometimes you have to have a little bit of white to catch it. But yeah.
I've got boomerangs, I think, of me just turning it so that you could see all the colors.
Nobody knows what boomerangs are anymore.
Okay, sorry. I've dated myself.
So 2020.
Gross. Oh man, 2020, guys.
So long ago.
Do you all remember that? Because that was rough. I was actually talking with one of my doctors today about that. Mm-hmm. She's like, "So when were you first diagnosed with this?" And I'm like, "Well, it must have been 2019 because right afterward is when everything shut down." She goes, "Oh, okay." Doctors, there's a lot of them. But I guess that's good, right? People are taking care of me.
Yes.
Maybe.
Yes. Hopefully.
Usually it's just like, I don't know. That's why they call it practicing medicine.
Mm-hmm. That's correct. That's correct.
Yeah.
Yes. We don't do medicine here. We practice it.
So does anybody else have any questions?
Well, yeah, bring us questions if you got them, but I want to show this as well, guys. This is episode 3, but I wanted to show you the milestone that we hit today.
Episode 3.
Bing.
What?
Guys, this is the little graphic from
crazy.
This is just from my feed, so this feeds out into my feed, into YouTube, and into the Big Dog Inc. page. And this little graphic comes from my feed alone. And just before we went online today for episode 3, it rolled over to 1,000 views for episode 1.
Why?
1,000 views for episode 1. And episode 2 is somewhere around like 840 or something like that right now. So this is wild. We appreciate it.
Incredibly bored. That's the only thing that I can come up with.
1,000 views, and if you guys would do us the favor and share the link around, share the feed around.
Is that when we say and subscribe?
Like and subscribe to the Oz Couple.
Something like
that. Bing, bing.
Oh my gosh.
Bing. Yeah. So yeah. 1,000 views. 1,000 views, Mr. Chad. What? Chad Perkins. Chad Perkins. Allison, I have good news and bad.
Tom is a nerd. He's a big nerd. Yes.
I have good news and bad news. I have good news and bad news.
Tell me the bad news first.
The bad news is we have to come back for episode 4.
Oh, balls. Okay.
Because the good news is that Chad is our 7th individual comment tonight. Nice. Which means we are now officially locked in for episode 4.
Shake my fist at you.
Next week.
Well, okay. We love you too, Lindsay. I don't know why they like us, but okay. I mean, I guess I'll take it.
Yeah. Chad, you destroyed all of our hopes and dreams, Chad.
You did. I was gonna nap. Apparently, I can't do that now.
So
go to bed early.
I'll take us back into. I mean, we've been doing a lot of Oz talk today, but I'll take us more specifically into Oz. Yeah, and this will be for people that are listening here as well. Yeah, I mean, sort of, kind of. So, and I talked to you about this last week when I was sitting around at home. Oh, I watched, because it's the 40th anniversary of the Return to Oz movie, which was on I don't know, Amazon or something. And I found it there and I was like, oh, this is like the 40th anniversary. I haven't seen this in a long, long time. So I put it on and I started to watch it. But as I was watching it, I was also, because this book goes with me everywhere. Dun, dun, dun.
Nice. Yes.
This is always with me. So this basically is it's literally Who's Who in Oz, guys, but it's a listing, alphabetical listing of like characters and places and stuff from the Oz books. And I got this my first year at Oztravaganza. I saw this on the shelf and I was like, oh, I have to have that. And one of the library workers was like,
it's a good book.
You take that. You take that. I was like,
really? Just gave it to you?
Yeah. I was like, oh, what?
Why does that never happen to me? I end up spending like buttloads of money on my Oz merch. And
yeah,
we had a lady in the museum the other day that was talking about like movie worn costumes that she was getting. And she's like, oh, I got them for really cheap.
Oh, we can talk about that one day too. I have a couple of movie worn things, not from Oz, but in general. But anyway, so I was watching Return to Oz, that was a weird experience watching it again. Like
weird and awesome.
I hadn't seen it probably in 20 years. I mean, really, truly, probably at least 20 years.
Yeah.
I hadn't really even thought about it. Well, probably pre-streaming world is probably when I saw it last. You know what I mean? Or it happened to be on TBS someday or whatever. And
the initial DVD release is when you saw it.
Yeah. So I had this book because I was watching the Oz thing, and whenever I watch Oz stuff, I try and think about things like, oh, like the Wheelers. Oh, we did the Wheelers and this and that and the other. What can we do? But so I had this thing, and so I just started, as I was watching, I just started going through it, looking at the names, looking at the characters. But I only wanted to find the bomb stuff, because that's the stuff that we can kind of technically use, and anything else you can't. So because it's alphabetical, you have to kind of look at which book it came from. So it'll tell you like the Scarecrow and like give a good description, and then it'll tell you which book it came from, whether it was Alfred Baum or Ruth Plumly Thompson or whatever. So you have to kind of look at the bottom if you're like, oh, I like that character. That's not public domain. So I went through here and I started making a list, because next year is the 15-year anniversary of our book, The Legend of Oz: The Wicked West. And so while the story itself is coming back, which we showed you this right here, this will be coming back for 2026. The Road Returns. While I'm doing that, that'll be the main series. We're also going to be looking at doing some spin-off stories. Either as like we did the Scarecrow miniseries, we did the TikTok miniseries, right? Either as that type of
monkeys. Although were those really separate?
No, that was part of the regular.
That was part of the rate. Yeah. Okay.
Yep. So we're either going to do like little miniseries like that, or potentially do like an anthology where we'd have like 3 stories in one book. And they'd all be like, sort of like 10-page stories, just have to figure it out. But what I did is I made a list, and I'm going to tell you guys the list. But what I want you to do also,
spoilers.
Whoever's watching. Well, this isn't spoilers. This is just sort of, again, stream of consciousness. Does this make sense? Do we want to do this? If you guys have characters that you would think might translate into the Oz Western world,
throw them out.
Yeah, throw them out there. Tell us who you think you might want to see a story of. But here's the thing. Like, it's easy to say Jack Pumpkinhead. It's easy to say, like, Princess Langwidere. Like, those are the easy ones.
But we've already got those.
That's what I'm saying. I
say we, like I'm involved in.
You were very involved in this. Clearly, you're here, so you're involved in this. So those are the easy ones, right? We want to kind of go a little bit outside the box. Now, it doesn't mean we can't use ones that we have used. Like I do have on my list, for example, where are they on my list? I know they're here. Dr. Pip and Scraps, they're in the book, but they're kind of third tier characters. So, we could definitely do something with them. Same with like Bungle the Glass Cat. Like he's been in the story, but not like a ton in the story. So those are guys that we have used that we can potentially tap into. But I'm also, I want to get a little bit outside the box. So I'm going to run down some of the things and you guys can tell me what you think. The first is just Bunnybury. Like we've talked about this for a long time.
Absolutely.
Whether it's a Beauregard specific story or whether it's just Bunnybury in general. I think that would be an interesting expansion to, sort of the world as a whole, is to show those guys.
Can we have Bunnybury with, so Beauregard, when I told you needed to name him that, for some reason, I had this vision of him as like this really Southern character, like very prim and proper and like fancy dress, but with like an accent kind of like Foghorn Leghorn without a stutter.
Right.
You know, like a really thick drawl. Mm-hmm. So can Bunnyberry just be like a whole bunch of people looking like they're straight out of Gone with the Wind or something? Because I'm telling you, that's where it's at right there.
I mean, if he's to me, Beauregard is sort of the style of what they would be to me. You know, he wears the suit and he's got the cane, and you know, he's the pimp bunny, right? Yeah. So I think, yeah, if we did a Bunnyberry story, I would think that the primary sort of visual of them would be that type of thing. You know, obviously there could be like, you know, the richer bunnies and like the farmer bunnies and whatever. Just you can have some variation.
A little bit of like a little bit more sort of New Orleans or something like that kind of South is what I'm feeling.
You need them to be throwing beads.
No, no. Oh, that just took it in a whole new direction. Woo! All right. Not going there.
Yeah. So
yeah, I don't know.
Bunnyberry, I think, would be cool. I think it would be interesting.
He's like Colonel Sanders, but with big ears.
And agendas.
Yes, that's true.
Agendas.
So who else do you have on the list?
So we had Bungle the Glass Cat,
Bunnyberry.
Of course. We have and really the Glass Cat. The last time we saw the Glass Cat, he was chilling with Scraps, so you could kind of put them all together, because it kind of makes sense that Scraps chills with the Glass Cat because she can pick him up because she's soft and squishy.
Sure, yeah.
And she can kind of hold him, and he's not going to get scratched up and cracked and broken and so on. So those three could easily get put together. I came across, and I'm not saying that I have stories for these things at all. They were just characters that I was like, how do we do that? Chiss, the giant porcupine.
Okay.
I thought might be fun to figure out how to play with that. Now this one, we've shown the wooden gargoyles really quickly once. When Mombi and Glinda were bouncing around Oz during their fight, they teleported into these different sections of Oz, and the Valley of Voe was one of them. Yeah, the Valley of Voe was one of them, and you got a really quick shot of the wooden gargoyles. But there's a dude named Overman Anu who apparently went in to the Valley of Voe and beat up the gargoyles, or I should say survived the gargoyles. But I kind of had this vision of him as like this brawler dude, just trying to make his name. But and based on the story, he goes up the spiral staircase, goes into the Valley of Voe, and just starts whooping on the gargoyles. But all the description says is that he escaped. So I'm kind of sensing that maybe he didn't quite reach his objective with that. But I thought that would be kind of a really fun, really outside the box thing to kind of tackle and see what we could do. There's always the Hungry Tiger, which has not been introduced yet. There are some of the gnomes, like there's Calico, that we could kind of get into some of the gnome stuff potentially. Then of course there is Langwidere and even Nanda, but I don't know that I want to do Langwidere really, because she's kind of an integral part of what we're doing with the regular book. There's the field mice, of course. The field mice would be something to play around with. Field mice cool. / the Wheelers / that sort of environment. And then there's King Renard, or King Dox of Foxville. You and I talked about him for a minute. So King Renard, I kind of was vibing on. There's a great picture of him in here that I was looking at him and I was like, oh, we could like modify that guy like super easy. And I was already kind of transplanting who he was, what he was into this story. So there's King Renard. And then the last one I had was Sniff the Griffin who lost his grr. So I was like, okay, yeah, that sounds like super fun to mess around with that. And that was my general sort of outside the box list.
Okay.
Yeah. So what do you think about that?
I'd like to hear what other people have.
Because there are one of the things that I found is there are a lot of characters that I think would be difficult to translate, just because they're so kind of innocuous. There's tons of like kings and princes and just sort of odd little people that I don't know.
A lot of odd
and then there's
people.
And then there's the Munchkins, of course.
Cake the Cookie Cook.
Which we
do that one.
Haven't really touched on yet. Yeah.
Actually, that could be a fun one.
What's that?
Cake the Cookie Cook.
Cake the Cookie Cook?
Yeah.
Is that what you want to write?
Mean, I could just see her translating it. Like, I mean, there's not a whole lot that you really know about her. It's just she has basically an enchanted cookie sheet. So, like, I mean, you could do anything with that.
Well, you have to write something here.
Who doesn't want cookies in the West? Like,
there's plenty of characters that you could sort of layer these worlds with and sort of be like, oh, like that's that guy and that's that guy, whatever. But to actually go like full story of their own, some of them would be a little tricky. But I think everything on the list, I think, could be done.
Well, that's why I'm wondering if characters that you don't really know a whole lot about would be easier to write, because then you wouldn't feel like you had to be kind of like pushed into a corner with them.
Yeah. Oh no, you're right. But that's why I liked Overman Anu and the Wooden Gargoyles. Like, that's just really its own thing. But then, you have like, well, that was the other part was, I'm going to read what it says in here. Because it was another part that I was like, that's really funny. The champion fighter of the Valley of Voe once was noted far and wide for his bravery in facing the fierce invisible bears that roam this beautiful valley. So he's a scam artist, right? Yeah. He's like, I'm fighting bears. Like, this guy. And then he went to the valley to go fight the gargoyles, and he got his butt whooped, right? So that was the whole thing that I really dug on. That is, you've got this dude who's clearly just selling snake oil, which is himself, and then it didn't work out so good when he tried to sort of do it for real. I thought that's a really interesting character, but he's not attached to Dorothy or Glinda or any of these other things, so it can just be its own thing. But if I can then find a way to sort of tie it into my Oz to some capacity, that's where the fun really, I think, happens.
Mm-hmm.
Lindsay, good night.
Good night. Ooh, 4:45. Yuck.
Yeah, that's no good. I didn't like getting up at like 7:30 to go to con. I was like, this is terrible. This is a terrible life that I've chosen.
There was a short amount of time. So if it were just up to me and I didn't have to wake up for something in the morning, my body automatically wants to go to sleep at like 2 or 3 a.m. That's just my rhythm.
Mm-hmm.
There was a short time where I was doing a morning radio program, and I had to wake up at 3 a.m. That threw me off so badly, because I'm just like, this is not normal, guys. You can't go to bed this early and then wake up at 3. You're supposed to be going to sleep at 3.
It's no good.
No, I didn't like it. Maybe that's why it didn't last for very long.
Right.
Yeah.
So what on this list are you going to write, Allison?
Nothing.
No, you got to write one of them. You got to pick one.
I am not I will give you tons of ideas, but to actually write the thing,
well, then you can write the plot. then you can write the plot. You don't have to write like the script, but you can write the plot. Like, okay, this happens, this happens, this happens, this happens.
Okay.
The end.
The end.
And they all lived happily ever after.
Do you have an Ojo?
You want to know what's funny is we have a design for him. He's already been designed.
Because I feel like I've missed the last couple, so I didn't know if maybe I missed something. But
he is not in the book, but he is a character that Jen designed because we went on a run for a while just designing stuff. Like in case we needed it. Like here's this. Like there's things that have been designed that we have not used. That she has. So he that just happens to be one of them. Yes.
Okay.
I have to go back into the designs now because now you got me thinking about what she might have done already that I don't even remember that we have. But most of the stuff that's here, we definitely have not dealt with.
Because there really are so many great characters.
Well, what's on the tip of your tongue?
Well, I mean, so like I would cake the cookie cook. I love it. I know that's really stupid, but I love it. Well, what are your other feelings on animal characters? Like we've got Beauregard, who is a very, very large rabbit.
Yes. I think the trick with the animals is there already are animals in Oz. So it's not a problem that if we put animals in, that's not a problem. The trick is I want to be careful not to overfill it with animals.
Okay.
Like even for example, King Renard, right? So dude's like a fox, but I don't necessarily want him to be like Beauregard, like literally be a fox.
Yes.
Do you know what I mean? So
yes.
Doesn't mean he can't, but in my brain, he has sort of the appearance, red hair and like a long mustache and, you know, that kind of like, right. You know, but he's still just a dude that kind of has that fox appearance. So again,
which I could see for a couple of characters from that book. I won't necessarily say who they are. I think they could definitely go with sort of the personality type. But then you have things like Frogman or Professor Wogglebug that would be harder to do. Not that they couldn't be done in that same way, but like they would definitely be harder to do.
Yeah, the weirder you get, the harder it is within my environment. Having a big talking bug is really sort of outside the scope. But Wogglebug could be like a TikTok. He could be like a robot bug.
Honestly, you could just go with the professor part of it.
Oh, very true. Yes, very true.
And that would totally work.
You would just have to have sort of a visual of him that gives him a little bit of a bug-like sense. You know what I mean? Just to have fun with it, because you can't just it's Professor Wogglebug, but it's just some dude.
I know, but he had a very distinct wardrobe choice. You know, he was kind of a dandy, I believe is what they would call it at that point.
There's a picture of him in here.
Yeah. Oh, in the Who's Who book?
Yeah. But it's really wackadoo.
Oh my gosh.
I mean, really wackadoo.
He is. He's absolutely wackadoo.
Let's see if I can make this work. It's down in the corner, of course, so it's kind of hard to see.
Yes. Yes, he's ridiculous. That's a different kind of illustration, though. That's not like I don't know. Don Arnale illustration.
No, I don't know where these came from. I have no context of. Maybe it tells me who did them.
Well, didn't Ruth do that book? Who did that book? Jack Snow?
Jack Snow.
I can't even, Jack Snow. Okay.
So
he probably did the illustrations.
Illustrations by John R. Neal, Frank Kramer, and Dirk, it says. So John R. Neal and Frank Kramer did.
And Dirk.
Yeah. It's literally what it says in quotation marks.
Manning. Okay. Okay. Dirk. All right.
So yeah. So they're the illustrations are kind of wherever they came from. But, yeah.
Well, it doesn't look like a John R. Neal. That doesn't mean that it's not.
Right. Yep. My computer's about to die. I gotta plug this thing in. There we go. Yeah. So So the Wogglebug is he's always been one of those guys that's kind of been in the back of my head. You've got the Gump, right?
I love the Gump.
Deal with the Gump.
Oh my gosh, I love the Gump. Like existential crisis. That I'm just like, I feel you. He's a little bit like Eeyore-y.
Oh, very much. Yeah. What if Eeyore could fly? Yeah.
I just identify with it so hard. But yeah, Gump is great. Oh, so good.
Yeah.
So you mentioned that you had watched Return to Oz.
Yes.
And that's kind of how we got here.
Yes.
What were your major takeaways watching it 20 or so years later?
I don't know how it got greenlit. I really don't. Although it was the 80s.
Yeah.
And the 80s were a wild time. But I still don't know how you greenlight a Wizard of Oz sequel that starts with, hey, why don't we electroshock Dorothy Gale? Like that's a bold choice to kind of get us started.
That's true. That's true.
You know, the rest of it kind of fell in line with things that existed at the time, like the Dark Crystal, things like that. So it's kind of get kind of this dark sense. You kind of like a creepy sense, like the gnomes in the rock and their faces are all like weird and the stop motion and stuff. Yeah, the claymation. Yeah. But it looked really cool. Even now, like I like that way more than if they did it now and it was like CGI. It would be like smoother and whatever, right? Like it was way weirder that it was like choppy and.
Well, I will always take Return to Oz over Oz the Great and Powerful.
Oh, 100%.
Always.
I tried to watch that the other day because I hadn't seen that in a long time, and it was right there too. Okay. I was like, oh, let me put it on. I was like, oh, this is almost painful. This is almost really legitimately painful to watch. And I didn't finish it. I could not finish it. I shut it down.
I don't blame you. Actually, I'd like to hear from anyone who's watching right now. Are you Return to Oz or Oz the Great and Powerful?
Oh, I don't think that's I don't even think that's a question. I don't think it is either,
but there are people who are out there who prefer one over the other.
Here's what I would think. I think anyone that prefers or even likes Oz Great and Powerful was probably that was their first Oz experience and they had no other context. You know what I mean? Okay. Because oftentimes that can happen. Like this is all the Oz I know. Experience. Well, but beyond the first movie, maybe. But like if you were a kid and your parents were like, hey, we're going to go see this Oz movie. And you're like, what the hell is Oz? They're going to be like, oh, look, there's like a flying monkey and like, you know, whatever. So I have a sense that there's people that like it in that context, but anyone who's sort of older coming into it with more of an Oz experience, they probably are going to be like, yeah, I don't know.
Okay. Yes. China Doll was great.
Cool. The China Doll was great. Here's the thing. Every time I say that a movie is bad, which is often, I will always concede
Tom hates everything.
That even bad movies have good moments, good portions. This worked. Yeah. This part worked. The rest of it didn't. And I still think there are some things of Great and Powerful that work, but as a whole, it really kind of falls on its face. And the China Doll parts were part of that. They were very good.
That was a great nod to the book.
Yeah.
I will always love anytime they are involved. which Legend of Oz, Dorothy's Return, different.
I haven't seen that. I have not seen that yet.
You had a personal experience with that one, sort of. But yeah, you have the China Princess in that one, and I really enjoyed that movie too. But
you did. See, it got.
I did
that was
actually.
Another one that most people I've talked to are kind of like at least indifferent.
It didn't do great. It was definitely geared toward younger kids.
Sure. Oh yeah.
But I thought, I mean, it was cute, and what a freaking amazing vocal cast.
Okay.
Like, I don't know how they got all of those stars. Like, they owed him favors or something. But yeah, that one's just sort of like a fun little feel good movie. It's not big on I don't want to say that either.
Substance.
But
that's okay. You can have movies that are just surface level things if they're
it's
fun.
It's a little bit more fluff, but it's still, Dorothy's trying to save the farm after the tornado.
Okay.
And then again, save all of her friends for the second time.
Mm-hmm.
So I guess it's not totally. I do not like Lea Michele. She's just not a person that I tend to like.
I'm assuming she's the voice actor.
And she's the voice of Dorothy, yeah. But you have Martin Short as the villain, and he's spectacular. So we have Mark Baum who is commenting, but nobody else is letting us know what they think on these things.
They're all too enthralled with us, and that's what I've found is a lot of times people will watch these shows and just
are enthralled
and just get like they're just listening. They're just like listening.
No.
So we want you to talk incidentally.
Yes.
We want to hear what you have to say. Yeah, somebody I'm on a Facebook page for movies and stuff, and somebody posted today. They posted Wizard of Oz, Return to Oz, and Great and Powerful, like as a 3-picture thing. And the caption or their comment was basically, all of the Oz movies are truly fantastic. And I was like, well, first of all, this is not all of them. And second of all, not so much.
I just had a great idea.
But you do you. That's fine.
Those 3 movies.
Yeah.
Marry F. Kill.
I think it's pretty obvious.
I mean, I think so too, but
it's pretty obvious.
But right? Like that just it totally works for that.
It does. It does. It's an obvious answer, but it does. It does work. It does.
For us, it's obvious.
I'm assuming you mean Oz sounds interesting and not whatever
Oz
9Z means.
9Z probably is also very
9Z.
Interesting. But
9Z.
Oz is Oz is the coolest.
Oz, yeah.
I was thinking about it the other day because it was Frank's birthday on the 15th.
Mm-hmm.
And it made me very reflective. Because I often wonder like what he thought that it would become.
Sure.
I'm sure that he had no idea that it was going to be something that outlived him, let alone something that 125 years is still very relevant.
Well, I mean, are there any interviews where he talks later about the longevity of it? I mean, do you know what I mean? Because even at the early stages of the book's existence, they were like immediately doing stage plays and all kinds of other stuff.
Yeah.
So there was clearly a sense of like, okay, this is really good. Let's milk it. Let's milk that cow.
Which is funny that you say that because
yes.
Imogene.
Yeah.
But there was a lot of stuff, but also there was plenty that didn't work.
Mm-hmm.
Because like the 1902, 1903, however you want to categorize that. So the stage musical was extremely successful, but it didn't, they took a lot of liberties in the storyline. But then when Frank saw how successful it was and decided, okay, well, I'm going to write my own musical, his did not do well. So, it's just, I don't know. I think he had seen enough success and failure that, I don't know. I have a hard time imagining that he would think that it would last this long and be so huge. And I think about all of the friendships and just random people that I would never have met if it weren't for this creation, which is really cool and kind of deep, but really cool. I don't know. I think all of my big life moments come back to Oz. Like every big pivotal moment in my life had something to do with Oz. And now, especially, I think a lot of the relationships that I have built in my life kind of come back to that as well. And how often can you say that about a story, whether it be a book or a movie or whatever? I don't think it's very common. And now he's really quiet.
No, I'm just listening. You're not wrong. You're not wrong.
Yeah. So
the deeper you get into something, the more that stuff.
Happy birthday, Frank. Yes. Yeah.
I mean, it's I don't know. I'm not as deep into Oz as you are. But I will say that there have been a lot of things that have happened to me because of Oz, both in meeting people, having potential opportunities. Like I said, this was almost a TV show, guys. About 10 years ago or so. This was so close, painfully close to being a TV show. But that was a great experience. My first sort of Hollywood experience, like how does this work and what do we have to do and so on. And then just being able to meet all the people at Oz Extravaganza that have been involved with this or are related to people that are involved with this. Like, I've done so many Comic-Cons and none of them are anywhere near what Oz Extravaganza produces as far as like a fan experience, to get you to the people that, do these things, whether it's writing books or doing movies or whatever. Oz Extravaganza is really unique in that. Probably just because it's so small, to be perfectly honest. It makes it as opposed to like a giant convention center and 40,000 people show up, into a room and they're all standing in line for one thing. So I think it's been cool to meet the people I've met in this environment. And that's why I always come back to the show. I'm like, listen, all these Comic-Cons are basically the same. Every time I do a con, it's basically the same. But when I go to Oz Extravaganza, while Oz Extravaganza itself might be similar to what it was last year, the experience every time with the people, whether it's the volunteers and the people that do the museum, whether it's the guests, whatever, there's always something more there than there is like going to Comic-Con and just standing behind a booth for 8 hours and hoping somebody wanders by to talk to.
And people walk by and they go, hey, are you the artist?
Yeah. You're not the artist. Well, what the hell are you doing here then? Just go home. Go home, writer. Yeah. So,
I mean, we wouldn't have met.
That's right. Now, that required Oz and a Comic-Con for us to meet.
Well, yes.
But yes, it was an Oz. The Oz connection was there.
But had I not seen your book, I probably would not have stopped and introduced myself, or I don't even know that I necessarily introduced myself, but I wouldn't have stopped. I wouldn't have made the costume. And then, I mean, so many things would not
do you remember, did we have the Oz banner, the Ebass banner where she's kind of got the gun like this? Or do you remember if you saw anything, or did you just happen to stumble across the book on the table?
No, I think I just saw the first volume. And I mean, to me, it was pretty obvious what it was. So I like just kind of ran up and looked at it. And then we started a conversation, and you were like very bomb focused, which I respected.
I was at a small show in Indiana one time, and there was a girl there who came up and was asking about Oz, and I was like, do you know how much do you know about Oz? I was asking her, like, how much do you know about Oz? And she was like, try me. And so I just started throwing out easy stuff. I was just starting throwing out characters. I was like, all right, who's Ginger? And she was like, blah, 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 blah. All right, who's this? I was like, oh, you know. And she was like, yeah. And I was like, well, you need this book then. Because if you know, you are going to get extra layers of
yes,
you know, to it. You're going to get just an adventure story for fun. But if you know the Oz, then you're going to get the bonus layers. And so she was intrigued. She was like, okay, give it to me. And she came back. She was like, oh yeah, this is fantastic. And she got whatever else we had at the time.
awesome.
So yeah. It's always fun to see like who really knows Oz, who thinks they know Oz, who knows Oz just from like, well, I saw Oz Great and Powerful, so I know Oz, right? Like it's like, well, sort of. Ish. Parallel, tangent. No. Yeah.
I will never. You will never get all of my thoughts on that story.
Which
there
story?
Are many.
Which story?
When I was the Great and Powerful.
Oh yeah, no, that's There's I'm sure there's plenty.
I don't. When I give a tour, though, I never bash it.
No, of course not.
I will always talk about the things that I like about it.
There you go.
Because I mean, well, first of all, I feel that's probably pretty unprofessional, but also there are so many people that love it. And like, I'm not going to yuck your yum. If you love it and that is your like Oz gateway drug, I'm here for it.
Well, if it's a gateway drug, you just hope that they're going to partake of the rest of it.
Yes, I hope so.
Yeah.
I feel like everybody that comes into the museum has their one thing that they really love. And I mean, there's so many different things out there that everybody loves something different. But by the time they leave the museum, they are so excited for all of the different things. And they've taken pictures of all of the different movies and TV series, because when they leave, they're like, okay, well, we're going to do a marathon. We have to watch all of it. And I think that that's pretty cool because, they come in and might not necessarily be super excited about it. They're like, okay, well, we're just here to see the Wiz.
Right.
But then when they leave, they're like, wow, I had no idea. There was so much stuff.
Do you have a sense that most of the people that come to the museum are original movie fans, sort of first and foremost, and then they see that it's become all this stuff and they're like, oh wow, it's become all this stuff? Do you have that sense that it's sort of, that's where it begins mostly? Not 100% certainly, but mostly?
I think, well, first of all, I personally cannot call it original movie just because it wasn't.
Well, it wasn't.
It wasn't. I mean, it wasn't the first one.
Right. The MGM.
Even though I kind of consider it the OG, but yes, I will say probably at least like 50% of people.
Oh, see, that even seems low.
Are there for that.
Mm-hmm.
And then you've got maybe like, I don't know, like 15 for Wicked, 15 for Book. So that's what, 90? I'm not counting.
80.
80? I don't know if I would consider The Wiz 20%. But I mean, roughly around there. Actually, Wicked is probably a little bit more now.
Sure.
But the amount of it's pretty much going to be 1939 film and Wicked that people are really excited about. But we have a ton of book fans out there too.
Now the big question is, what percentage of your attendees on your tours freak out when they get to the comic book section?
So when I give my tour, I don't tell them that I'm in the case.
Right.
I don't tell them that.
But you point out that, like, here's comic books and the Legend
I talk about, yes. Usually I will start with the Marvel DC stuff. And then talk about all the different genres of Oz comic. And then usually I say, and our favorite is this Western, reimagining. So yes, I will point that out. But I will not point myself out.
No, they do that for you. I've been told you've been doing that.
If they notice, then I will say, yes, that is me. But yeah, I don't really do that. No.
But pay no attention to the girl behind the curtain.
Mark does. Mark does. Christine does. Mark Sample does. And then a lot of people. I've actually signed quite a few autographs at the museum, or directed people to your book, which we have been out of volume 1 forever.
Yes,
I keep telling you that.
So Oz people rejoice. We will have issue 1s, volume 1s. When I am there at Ozstravaganza in 2.5 weeks.
Oh, Colleen.
We will have volume 1s, and come December, January, we should have in print the big first ever Legend of Oz omnibus, which will have the first 4 volumes in one big honking book. It'll be, God, I told my printer that it was going to be like 400 pages about, and as I'm thinking about it, it's gonna be more like 500. As I started to do the count, and then like all the extra material, like the cover galleries and stuff, I'm like, oh my God, it's gonna be like 500 pages. Awesome. This thing's gonna be large. But we talked with the printer. We're trying to do something really special with the book. We're using a very specific type of paper that is like so soft and so nice. We're working on getting like a spot foil on it, like for the logo. We're looking at doing a red gilt edging on the pages, on the outside of the pages. Yeah, and then we're gonna and to get the price down as well, because whenever we do these hardcovers, they're usually very expensive. But to get the price down, we're going to be doing more of them this time. So we're going to try and get the price down as best we can by making more copies. But we are still going to have 100 of them with a special dust jacket edition as well. So yeah. So that will still be part of our normal thing. Is 100 with dust jackets, and then the other, the plan right now is to do 500 total hardcovers. That'll drive our price down a lot, thank God. And then 100 with the dust jackets, and then we'll have the trade paperbacks, just trade paperbacks. So yeah, so that's the plan, guys. That's the plan.
I've already been preaching this to everybody. I had a really cute, geeky couple in this past week, and I was like, you're going to have to check out the omnibus. It'll be out later this year.
Well, we'll have, I'm hoping to have like a little flyer that I can send people home with it.
That would be great.
Yeah, so that they'll at least have that they can.
Because you don't want them to go home and then like forget about it.
Yeah, because it doesn't happen until August. So it's only a couple of months, but it's still long enough that you can forget about it. So we're going to send you home with a little flyer to remind you that it's going to happen like towards the middle to end of August. We're going to launch the campaign. And I think I'm going to have a sample copy. Like I think they're going to make me a sample copy so that I can like a proof copy. So once I get the proof copy, we'll be able to kind of flash it and show you guys what it's going to look like.
That'll be awesome.
And yeah, so that's the plan, guys. That is the current plan. And then of course the book comes back full steam in 2026, as well as all of the little side stories that we are working on. We're going to wrap this up here. We've done 90 minutes again, but if you're watching this back, please comment on anything that you want in the show. Throw some comments.
We need to be going back and looking through all the comments, because I didn't even think about people asking questions later.
If that's what I'm saying. If you post comments while you're watching it back and we're not live, we still get the comments, guys. So if you're asking questions and stuff, we can either answer them in the thread or we can save them for the next week and bring them in.
Oh yeah, that's a good idea.
What we want though, again, is we want to hear your thoughts on what stories you would want to see, what characters you want to see adapted into the Legend of Oz: The Wicked West concept of it all. So about halfway through, we started a list of stuff that I did that I thought would be cool. Check out the list, comment on the list, and if you have other characters, feel free to toss them into the thread, and we'll see if we can get back to those comments next week, because we have had enough comments.
Apparently we're back.
Episode 4.
It's insane. Oh no, I think you froze. What happened? Okay. I